السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه حمدا يليق بجلال وجهه وبعظيم سلطانه، وصلى الله على خير خلقه محمد الصادق الأمين المبعوث رحمة للعالمين، وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين، وعلى أصحابه الغر الميامين، ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم اكتبنا منهم آمين. اللهم زدنا علما ولا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. We praise and glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as He deserves, and we send peace and blessings on the best of His creation, our beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept and bless this gathering for His remembrance, to make us among the mukhlisin, the sadiqeen, who are true in their seeking of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala benefit us with beneficial ilm, knowledge that helps us to come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to fulfill the purpose for which He has created us and sent us on this earth for a limited period of time. As you know, my dear brothers and sisters, every day hundreds and thousands of people are leaving. And one day we will also leave. And all we take with us is our good deeds and our iman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us here for a purpose, and He tells us that I've sent you here for my ubudiyah, for my worship, for serving me, for being my khalifa, my representative on earth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent examples, the best of whom is our beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, as to what it means to be Allah's khalifa on this earth. And we have been studying about one such khalifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, the most noble, son of the noble, son of the noble, son of the Khalil of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in Surah Yusuf, we had gotten up to ayah number 57, where we concluded last time, which is that Yusuf alayhi salam has now come out of the prison. He has been exonerated from all the accusations that were made against him. The women, and especially the wife of the Aziz, has confessed to what she had done. And the king, the Malik, has been so impressed with Yusuf alayhi salam that he has drawn him close to him. And Yusuf alayhi salam, wanting best for the people, for the nation, volunteered his services. He said, I am an expert in management of the treasury. Make me the minister of Egypt, because there are tough times ahead, which is what the dream said, that there would be 7 good years, which he needed to manage, and then there would be 7 very difficult years. So he is now firmly established as the number 2 man in Egypt after the king. What he says goes. He is all-powerful. And so, from that point, a different type of test starts for Yusuf alayhi salam. Before that, his tests were of difficulty after difficulty after difficulty, from the hatred and enmity and jealousy of his brothers, who threw him in the well and did all bad things to him, to be sold in the markets as a slave, to being a slave, and then trying the seduction, and then being accused of that, and then being put in prison, even though he was not guilty, unjustly, for about anywhere from 3 to 9 years, like 7 years in prison. And now he has come out and he has become all powerful. So a different type of test starts for him. How does he use his power? So we start with ayah number 58. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وجاء إخوة يوسف فدخلوا عليه فعرفهم وهم له منكرون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and Yusuf's brothers. How many brothers?
9.
No, not 11, not 9, 10. Because there were 12 brothers, and we know from the story that the youngest brother was not there. One is sitting on the throne. So 10 brothers come. Joseph's brothers came, and where did they come from? From what is Philistine, Canaan, as it used to be called, and they came to Egypt. And فَدَخَلُوا عَلَيْهِ, they were allowed to enter into his presence. Now imagine he's sitting there in some sort of a palace, and he's got all kinds of slaves and servants who carry out his commands. He has security people around him. And these foreigners, because they are indeed foreigners, are brought in front of him. And as they are brought, so he sees 10 men, very good-looking, sort of very distinguished young men brought into his court. And immediately, he فَعَرَفَهُمْ, he recognized them. Immediately. Now, how much time had passed?
28. 30 years.
More than almost between 25 and almost 30 years, somewhere in that. Because if you take, he was around 8 or 9 years, then he came to his adulthood, and when we don't have an exact count, but maybe when his the wife of the Aziz sought him, he was maybe around 20 years, 19, 20, and then he was in prison for another 7 years. Now he's come out from prison, and the good years have passed. That's why these people have come, because they have no food anywhere outside of Egypt. Okay? So maybe he's in his mid-30s, so all this time has gone. But when they threw him in the well, they were already grown up. Okay? They were much older than him because they were from a different mother. So he saw them and he immediately recognized them. Now, what must have been his emotional state to see his whole life sort of seen flash through? What I have gone through because of these 10 people. Yet, he acted as if he didn't know. So that was his maturity. And they did not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَهُمْ لَهُ مُنْكَرُونَ. They knew nothing about him. Why? Because he was a little kid, and now he's grown up. He's probably got a beard, and he's dressed like a king, and he's sitting here. They don't know. That's the least. And they had even forgotten. They probably thought, either he's dead somewhere or, a slave somewhere. Who would expect to see him sitting here? Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and they were unaware of who he was. So obviously these people came here because there was no food anywhere, because those famine years had started. So whether it was in the first year or second year, we don't know. But they came looking for food, and at that time they used to have the barter system. You brought in something, you exchanged it, or you had some, metal coins, your own currencies. So they came with that to buy food. Okay. So the 10 brothers came, and I've made a note here about, what emotions must have gone through his mind. In today's psychology and psychiatry, we call it PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. The flashback of all of what he had gone through, and yet he kept his calm. Also, what we learn here is new pathways, new avenues are opened by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After all of these years, all of this is going on in the world to fulfill the original dream of Yusuf alayhi salam. All of this is going on. Famines are coming, this and that. And the opening, who opens the pathways to all of these? Allah. What name of Allah would you consider for this? Al-Fattah. the opener. So anytime you feel constricted, you need an opening out of any difficulty, call on Al-Fattah. Ya Allah, you are the opener of ways, of paths. وَلَمَّا جَهَّزَهُمْ بِجَهَازِهِمْ قَالَ ائْتُونِي بِأَخٍ لَكُمْ مِنْ أَبِيكُمْ أَلَا تَرَوْنَ أَنِّي أُوفِي الْكَيْلَ وَأَنَا خَيْرُ الْمُنزِلِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't give you details of what happens, He gives you specifics, and you have to fill in the blanks. So the next ayah, so they enter, they don't recognize Him, He recognizes them. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and when He had provided them whatever they wanted of grain, we are 10 of us and this and that, بِجِهَازِهِمْ, whatever their supplies according to their needs. Now just remember, He is the administrator. You cannot get whatever grain you want, as much as you want. Why? Because merchants who had money could buy it all and then go sell it on the black market because, supply and demand. So He was acting as a wise man, giving according to the needs of the people. Okay, you are here. How many members in your family? 1 year supply, you are allowed to purchase so much. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that way. Okay. So there was what we would call a quota of the ration of how much would be given to each one. So one possibility is that when they got that ration, they had come all this way from Canaan, that they said to him that, besides our family, we also have an old father. He said, okay. And we also have a younger brother from, why didn't he come with me? Oh, he is from our father, he's from a different mother. So he said, okay, I will give you for his share also, but I don't know if you're telling the truth. So in future, if you come, you have to bring him here because I want to verify that you got the right amount, that you didn't, cheat me with extra grain. So he didn't just out here, it sounds like he just said to him, bring your 11th brother, bring your young brother from your father. In other words, because Binyamin, the youngest, and Yusuf a.s. were from a different mother, and the other brothers from different mothers. So it wasn't like, it seems like he would say, bring your youngest. How does he know that we have a younger brother from our father? So obviously a conversation had gone on. Where have you come from? Oh, we have come from Canaan. Oh, how are things there? How was your journey? Was it safe? How many people in your family? We have an old man, we have a younger brother. Oh, why didn't you bring him? He is from a different mother, and our father doesn't let him go. Doesn't tell anything more because, we lost another one. So that's one way of thinking how he suddenly said, bring your younger one. And he said to him, so next time you come, so he's acting as if he knows nothing about it. He said, but you've claimed to have another brother. So next time you come, you bring him. And then what does he give as evidence of why he should? He said, look, and you have seen, don't you see that we give full measure? What you gave, we gave you, and we gave you for your brother also you wanted, for example. And ana khairul munzilin, and you've come, we have treated you as, we've been gracious hosts to you. We've treated you well, we've made you rest here and provided food for you. So he's telling them his virtues, that look, just to make them feel that, he is a just and, good person, so that they would come back. Ultimately, that's he wants. Because what is his fear? What is his fear about his brothers? That the youngest brother is probably going through the same thing that I went through. Because he's my brother, and I'm sure my father is holding on to him like he held on to me, and these people might do the same thing. And they were. And then some of the scholars have said, when the first ayah went, وَعَرَفَهُمْ, means he recognized them, also means that he knew them, that they had not changed much. Okay. So he tells them that, okay, you've been treated very well here. I'm sure you will need grain, you will come back, but in future, you have to bring, so first he gives them the carrot. Next time you come, you will get, but you need to bring him in. So there's an incentive to bring him back. And then he goes to the next step and he says, فَإِن لَمْ تَأْتُونِي بِهِ فَلَا كَيْلَ لَكُمْ عِنْدِي وَلَا تَقْرَبُونَ. Now he uses the stick. And if you don't bring them, he is the master here. And if you don't bring him, you will get nothing from here. And you will not even be allowed, my guards will not even allow you access to me. You cannot even come near me. So essentially, he's incentivized them that, look, if you want, we will do this, you will bring him. And if you don't, there's nothing for you. Okay. So he's making it hard for them. Now, they say, now they look at this and, they know that they are going to be in need. قالوا, they say, سنراود عنه أباه وإنا لفاعلون. We got it, no problem. We will convince our father to let him come with us. Okay. Because they have been incentivized. There is something in these people when it comes to materials, they want it all. Hasn't changed till today, right? In the descendants of those brothers. Something to think about. So, they said, we will certainly convince our father and push him to let our youngest brother, they say, our brother from our father. They don't even just call him a brother. And we will bring him. وقال لفتيانه اجعلوا بضاعتهم في رحالهم لعلهم يعرفونها إذا انقلبوا إلى أهلهم لعلهم يرجعون. وقال, and Yusuf alayhi salam said to his young servants and slaves that were there, that you take all the exact money that they have brought, what they paid for this good, and you put it in their bags in such a way that they see it and recognize it when they get back. In other words, don't put it on top where they see it. Bury it in the grains and somewhere. It also tells us that the system was such that the people could identify who bought what, the cataloging, and what they purchased it with. So he said, what they have given, the coins they have, the amount, put that in their baggage somewhere in there so that when they go back, they find it and they recognize it as what they had paid, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ, so that they may return. So why did he do that? Why did he put it back?
So that they come back and
That's one way, is that was an incentive that, look, this king is so just, he gave us all of this for free. So now next time we get back and we take that young brother, we are going to get a lot more. That's one way. Some scholars have said, because he looked at their state of poverty and need, and also felt that my father must be needy. So he said, put it all back. And there is another opinion, to incentivize them to come back in a different way, is that they are still people with some integrity, even though they did bad things. Is when they go back and they find the goods are there and the money is there, they might think by mistake the money got put back with the baggage, and now since we've already bought it, that money is no longer halal for us because we had given it to them. So we need to go back to return this money because we had purchased the goods. Okay, so whichever way you look at it, that was behind it. But all three ways are incentives for them to come back. Essentially, he wanted to come back. فلما رجعوا إلى أبيهم قالوا يا أبانا منع منا الكيل فأرسل معنا أخانا Next, وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. So then, when Joseph's brothers, رَجَعُوا إِلَىٰ أَبِيهِمْ, when they came back to their father, now they traveled from Egypt all the way back to Canaan, they said, "Oh, our father, مُنِيَ مِنَّا الْكِتَابُ." They didn't say that we've got all of this. The first thing they say is, we will not be allowed any more unless you send our brother. So they started right away with their aggression so that they could take him. They didn't even say that we've been given so much and the king was so generous and all. The right said, "Munia minna al-kaylu." We have been forbidden any more grain. Okay? فَأَرْسِلْ مَعَنَا أَخَانَا. So send with us our brother. So they may have said, why do you? Because the king said, we got an extra load and we said we have a brother. He said, I want to verify. I want him to be brought back here. Now, Yaqub alayhi salam may have had some inkling about it, but he didn't say anything. And what did they say? What is the guarantee they gave Yaqub alayhi salam to allow Binyamin to go with him? وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظِينَ. And indeed, we will protect him. In other words, you are clinging on to him, we are strong. But interestingly, these are the exact words they had said at the time of Yusuf alayhi salam. So they were so callous not even to think that these were the exact words. أَرْسِلْهُ مَعَنَا غَدًا يَرْتَعْ وَيَلَبْ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. Send Yusuf with us tomorrow so he can enjoy and entertain himself and play and eat. إِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. We will indeed protect him. So it must have been again another flashback for Yaqub alayhi salam to hear those same words again. With that guarantee, I know what happened to one son. The same guarantee is being given by the same people for the next son. قال هل آمنكم عليه إلا كما آمنتكم على أخيه من قبل فالله خير حافظا وهو أرحم الراحمين. He said, so he did not fool around. He said, هل آمنكم عليه? Can I trust you regarding him? كما آمنتكم على أخيه, as I trusted you with his brother. So he reminds them, this is exactly what you said. So, in other words, he said, this is not enough of a guarantee. It's not enough of a guarantee to say that, okay, we'll protect him. That's what you said before. But he also knows that they will need the grain. They're going to starve. So they need to go back. And to get more grain, then he will need to send Binyamin. So he is trying to hammer into them that, look, don't pull a fast one on me this time. You need to give me better guarantees. Then he says, فَاللَّهُ خَيْرٌ حَافِظًا. Means I am trying to protect this boy now, but Allah is the best of protectors. Allah will protect him. وَهُوَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. And he is the most merciful of all those who show mercy. So again, Yaqub alayhi salam has this flashback. He's jolted by the trauma of Yusuf alayhi salam's loss, and all of these years he's been pining and crying and losing his vision over. He's never forgotten his son. He knows, he doesn't know where he is. I mean, when a child dies, the book is closed. You have sabr, you get over it. When a child is missing, you have to ask the parents, after 30, 40 years, they're still that unsettled. Is he alive? Is he dead? What's happened? So that's what he was going through. So he was inclined to let Binyamin go, but he did not want to give an immediate approval. He wanted more guarantees. And also told them that I cannot protect him. I can protect him here from you. I'm not going to be able to protect him here. But trying to put that fear of Allah in them, that realization that Allah is the protector. He is watching what you do now, and whatever you did in the past has happened. And also reminds them that Allah is Arhamur Rahimin, the most merciful of all those who show mercy. So in other words, Allah will show mercy to you if you behave properly now in spite of what you have done, and also you should therefore be merciful to this young boy that you're going to take with. وَلَمَّا فَتَحُوا مَتَاعَهُمْ وَجَدُوا بِضَاعَتَهُمْ رُدَّتْ إِلَيْهِمْ قالوا يا أبانا ما نبغي هذه بضاعتنا ردت إلينا ونمير أهلنا ونحفظ أخانا ونزداد كيل بعير ذلك كيل يسير. So when they opened their bags, what did they find? Imagine these 10 people opening with their families, open the grain unloading, and suddenly they find all their coins back. They must be so happy. So happy. You find one coupon, you save $2, you stand in line behind them, they're so happy, $2 being saved. Now imagine all your money being there. They discovered that money that they had paid, and they said, "Oh, our father!" Just imagine, "Ya Bana!" They're so excited that the money is back. Here's our money, fully returned to us. Now we can buy more provisions. So they were not there to take that money back and return it because they thought it was not halal for them. They were going to use it again to buy more. Okay, that interpretation is called husn dhan, thinking good of people better than they deserve. And they said, "We will protect our brother and keep him safe. And we will get an extra camel load of grain. And it'll be so easy because this is how we were treated the first time. And now we take him, we are going to get a lot more." قال, so Yaqub alayhi salam says, قال لن أرسله معكم حتى تؤتوني موثقا من الله لتأتنني به إلا أن يحاط بكم فلما آتوه موثقهم قال الله على ما نقول وكيل. He said, "I will never send him. I'm not going to." He insisted, "I will not send him with you until you give me a solemn oath that you will certainly bring him back to me unless you are surrounded." In other words, what does that mean? It is beyond your capacity because you're going to travel. There may be bandits, you're surrounded. Maybe you are killed. Maybe you get imprisoned, and it's beyond your capacity to come back. That's the only exception. And when this mithaq, this oath had been witnessed, he said, قال الله على ما نقول وكيل. And he said, after they had given him their oaths, he said, "Allah is the witness over what we have said." In other words, he is doing his best to imprint in their hearts how solemn this trust is of giving this son to them to take. Now he gives some instructions for the journey back. وقال يا بني لا تدخلوا من باب واحد وادخلوا من أبواب متفرقة وما أغني عنكم من الله من شيء إن الحكم إلا لله عليه توكلت وعليه فليتوكل المتوكلون. And he said, "O my sons, don't enter the city through one gate, but enter through multiple gates." What is this advice? Why?
So that
It can't be recognized.
they cannot be attacked.
Yeah.
And they don't all die together.
You said it. Because they were, in that time, what was the greatest wealth anybody had? Sons. And these were strong, young, good-looking, distinguished sons. For some family to have 11 of them, that was like they are something. So the first thing that happens is what's called ayn, or evil eye, nazar. So that is what the majority of scholars from Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, Mujahid, Qatada, most of them have said this is what is. Some have said that there would be jealousy, just hasad, not the evil eye, that people would feel jealous that these people just left and they had access to the king and they took these loads and now they're coming back. And so there is favoritism going on and there people would be jealous of them and so on. So jealousy or evil eye or nazar or whatever. And some of them, and again, these are analyses of people, is that Yaqub alayhi salam also figured that this is a big city, people come from different gates, so let my sons go through different gates because they'll meet other travelers, and in their conversation somebody might ask them, where are you from Canaan? Oh, we know one person from Canaan, he's a slave in our area, so they might find out about Yusuf alayhi salam. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, because if these boys found out about Yusuf, they wouldn't come and tell Yaqub alayhi salam anyway. Okay, but those are some of the opinions of what people have thought. So that's what he said. And then he says, وَمَا أَغْنِي عَنْكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ, and I cannot help you against what Allah has destined for you. So after giving the advice, he also says that I cannot help you, means I'm giving you this advice, and it is Allah who decides only. In other words, it's Allah's decree, and I put my trust in Him, and everyone who trusts puts their trust in Allah. Tawakkul. So the lesson here is, he is a Nabi, son of a Nabi, son of Khalilullah. Who would have more trust than him? Yet he tells his sons, take these precautions. Right? Because we are human beings, we are asked to do things. It's not like don't do anything. Allah's Razzaq, I don't need to move a finger. Food has to come here because Allah is Razzaq. Allah is Al-Hafiz, He is a protector. I can jump from the Empire State, Allah will protect me. That's stupidity. You are supposed to do what is in your ability, but don't ever attach your heart to those means that this will protect me. By going through different gates, he is telling them, don't think that that is my father's advice or doing this will protect you, but we should take these precautions. Okay, this is similar to a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. What did he say? Anybody remember? Aqil wa tawakkal. Tie your camel with your hands, but let your heart be tied to Allah. Tawakkul on Allah. Okay. Today we get tied to our means. I've done so much, I've done this, I'm doing so. You should do your best, but don't ever think, because you see people do real great job, but the results aren't there. Results are dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala completely. Sometimes it's proportional to what you did, sometimes it's completely. You can do the best of everything and the result is failure, bankruptcy, whatever it is. Okay. A person works out 6 hours, 5 days a week, physical fitness. Next day he's running and drops dead. Should you work out and moderate amount of everything? Same thing. So we are supposed to make an effort, and that's what he is teaching them. We are certainly not masters of our fate, as we are taught in present culture, that you can make your own fate. Fate is only known to Allah. He decides. We must put our trust in His decree. And our hearts should always be, no matter what a good job we do. So if you collect 300,000 in Washington, D.C., and you shout at the top of your voices, and you shout surround the White House, you did your effort. The results will come from Allah. Whether it comes through that means, whether it comes through another means, Allah's Latif. Things come from where you least expect. And we have the example of descendants of the Bani Israel. When Musa alayhi salam was in his greatest danger, how did Allah protect him? Right in the arms of the Pharaoh, in his house. Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does things because He is unique in unique ways. One of the lessons that we learn from this is, if you have blessings from Allah, a lot, whatever it is, don't show it off, because it is prone to produce bitterness, jealousy, hasad, evil eye, nazar, all of those things. And even sometimes it doesn't have to be out of that. Sometimes they say this ayn can be, this nazar can be from somebody they love. They don't say mashallah, tabarakallah and things like that. Oh, what a beautiful child, next day the child is sick. So there is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ which says, if, now just remember, it's a conditional hadith, if something could change the decree of Allah, it would be the ayn, the evil eye. In other words, it has power. Obviously, it cannot change Allah's decree. Okay. So, if Allah blesses you with a lot of things, use it, but don't flaunt it in front of, look where I am, look what I have, look, that sort of thing, because of all the other things. So now, fast forward, the permission has been granted, they have done their mithaq, their oath. Allah has witnessed all of this. He's given them the advice. They journey back to Egypt. And do they listen to their father's advice? He's not there? Yes, they do. They go through different gates. وَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا مِنْ حَيْثُ أَمَرَهُمْ أَبُوهُمْ. And when they entered the city as their father had ordered them. So what's also telling us that yes, they had done bad things, but they were not all bad. Here they are obeying their father, who was far away. How would he know whether we entered through one? What is this nonsense? I don't believe in this. Let's do whatever. We are actually makes sense. 10 of us together are stronger than people 2 and 1 here and this. Let's go to. No, they listen to their father. And which also tells us, young men, even when you grow up, obedience to your parents. Young women, obedience of the parents. Now I have a husband, now I have this, I am grown up, I am smarter than my father. Doesn't matter. As long as your father or mother is telling you something, you obey, unless they're saying something unreasonable. Okay? Respect. ما كان يغني عنهم من الله من شيء. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, it did not help them in the least against the will of Allah. Means entering through. They obeyed, but that's not what protected them. إِلَّا حَاجَةً فِي نَفْسِ يُوسُف. This was a need of Yusuf to give this nasihah to his children. What was this need, this haja of Yusuf? Why did he need to say this? Because they were still his sons, no matter what they had done, whatever wrong they had done, he still loved them. And he wanted to protect them. Even though now he was an old man and there were young strapping men much stronger than him, but he was still the father. So he wanted to do whatever. It was his need. Whatever I can give them to protect them, I must. So this was the advice, this was the need. And Qatada said this haja was to act on the knowledge he had. He knew some of these things, so he felt the need that I have to convey this to them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, he gave this, they followed it, because it was the need of his. And my reflection on that is, which from my own life is, that no matter what happens, a father will always be a father, which means a mother will always be a mother. When my mother was 90 years old, rahimahullah, I used to come home at 10 o'clock from the hospital. She said, calling me on the phone, where are you? Mother, I am an adult. So parents will always be parents. They always want to protect their children. The grandmothers in Gaza today, if they could protect their they would protect them with their bodies. It also teaches us that we don't assess people by one action, one deed that they did. If somebody made a mistake once, don't stamp that thing on them forever. Today we have what is called cancel culture. If somebody, my family, my cousin or is toxic to me, so we cut off relationship. We have terms like toxic family members, right? I want to have nothing. I don't call you. I've deleted you from my thing. You will not enter. I will not enter. What does Allah say? Join with your family members. That's the way of increasing Allah's barakah of your life and of paradise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, yet they cut off what Allah has joined with the rahim. So even though they made mistakes, He still wants to save them and protect them. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes on to say at the end of this ayah, I didn't read it. إِلَّا حَاجَةً فِي نَفْسِ يُوسُف قَضَاهَا وَإِنَّهُ لَذُو عِلْمٍ لِمَا عَلَّمْنَاهُ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and truly he was blessed with great knowledge. Talking about Yaqub, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, because of what we had, allamnahu, what we had taught him. Allah had taught his prophet, Yaqub alayhi salam, but most people have no knowledge. Okay. So he was acting on that knowledge, being who he was, and we act otherwise. But again, these things are lessons for us today, still from a few thousand years ago, of what family relationships should be. Okay. Yes, people make mistakes. وَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا عَلَى يُوسُفَ آوَى إِلَيْهِ أَخَاهُ قَالَ إِنِّي أَنَا أَخُوكَ فَلَا تَبْتَئِسْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. Now, they come, they brought their son, their youngest brother, half-brother, and they again are granted access to the court of Yusuf alayhi salam. And when they enter into Yusuf's presence, obviously he must have asked them, okay, who is this? Young man, this is your half-brother, this, that, and some sort of conversation must have taken place. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just cuts through that and says that وَآوَى إِلَيْهِ, and he called him to himself. Obviously he didn't do it in front of the brothers, so there must have been some arrangement that he made, that privately he had him called aside, and he called him to, embraced him, reassured him. He was, I'm being called by the king, what's going on? Because he doesn't know that's his brother. He says, Inni ana akhuk, I am your brother. Now imagine what would have happened. Fala tabtais, and don't be afraid, don't be distressed or grieved at what they have been doing. Kanu yamal, at what they have been doing means they had continued to be bad to the younger brother, and he may have known about it. And he must have looked like a traumatized young boy coming with these people who were treating him like dirt. So he takes him aside in whatever way. The other brothers don't know what's going on. He calls him all right, assures him, okay, nothing to worry about, no more stress. You know, I'm in charge here. I'm your brother. I've gone through. And that young brother was too young at the time when this happened. But he must have heard, because his father was always talking about him. Oh, Yusuf, 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 Yusuf. So he takes him aside and reassures him that I am your brother. And probably it's not implied here. Tells him that I'm going to devise a plot to keep you here with me, so you don't have to go back with them and suffer whatever you've been suffering at their hands. Okay. فَلَمَّا جَهَّزَهُمْ بِجِهَازِهِمْ جَعَلَ السِّقَايَةَ فِي رَحْلِ أَخِيهِ ثُمَّ أَذَّنَ مُؤَذِّنٌ أَيَّتُهَا الْعِيرُ إِنَّكُمْ لَسَارِقُونَ. So now Yusuf alayhi salam lets the young brother with them, acts as if he doesn't know anything. He says, okay, now you're good. Everybody gets their share of grain. He also gets extra, and they're all excited and all, and they are leaving. So Yusuf alayhi salam, slips siqaya from saqiya, something, a cup, a drinking cup. So here it just says a drinking cup. Obviously, it was a royal drinking cup, into the saddle bags with the grain of Binyamin. He slips it in there. And as they're leaving, now one of the, there are guards there, and then one announcer said, as they're leaving and other people are leaving, one of the announcers, in those days, they didn't have a PA system, loud voice, he said, "O people of the caravan," people going, "surely you are thieves." And there may be multiple caravans leaving. "You are thieves. Innakum lasa." You are indeed thieves. And we'll come to the strategy, and somebody might have a question of what was ethical, what was not ethical, because ultimately there's some deception here. There is some evidence being planted falsely in somebody's bag, and then they're being called forward, and all of this is going. We'll talk about that in a minute. And you say, well, least of all, we don't expect this from Yusuf alayhi salam. Okay. قالوا وأقبلوا عليهم ماذا تفقدون. So they said, now these people, they didn't do anything wrong. So they're feeling very tough. They turn around, they said, yeah. They come back to these guards and all. Said, yeah. What are you missing? What are you missing? قالوا نفقد صواع الملك. The different word, that the goblet of the king is missing. And the head guard says, وَلِمَنْ جَاءَ بِهِ حِمْلَ بَعِيرٍ وَأَنَا بِهِ زَعِيمٌ. And whoever brings it back, I give a personal guarantee that I'll give him an extra camel load of goods, grain. Now they know they haven't stolen it, so they can't bring it. So, but they are very confident, that we didn't steal it. قالوا, but because the guards are there, قالوا, they said, Tallahi. Tallahi is like wallahi. We swear by Allah, لقد علمتم ما جئنا لنفسد في الأرض وما كنا سارقين. You know us, we are people of integrity. We didn't come here to cause mischief and trouble and fasad. We didn't come here to steal. And indeed, وَمَا كُنَّا سَارِقُونَ, we are no thieves. So they're very confident, and they can take an oath, because as far as they're concerned, they never stole anything. Which tells us that you can take an oath as long as you're reasonably certain about something, because we can never be 100% certain about anything. So that's what they did. قالوا, and so the guards said, who had called them, قالوا فما جزاؤه إن كنتم كاذبين. And what is the jaza, the price or the exchange, or what is the punishment, if you want to say, if you are liars? In other words, what if you turn out to be the thieves? What should be the punishment? It's interesting that they ask that generally what happens, you are punished according to the law of the land. The law of the land in Egypt was anybody who stole would get a public thrashing of whatever it is, and then would have to return the thing. But Yusuf alayhi salam also knew that the law of these people in Canaan and Yaqub alayhi salam's tribe was, if somebody stole something, the jaza would be he would become a slave to the person who stole. So qalu, so now they are being very just. Okay, you tell us before. Now they haven't found any. You tell us what should the punishment should be. Qalu jaza'uhu man wujida fi rahlihi. Said the price is the person himself. And they didn't say who stole. with whom the merchandise is found. Wajadahu. Okay. Fahuwa jaza'uhu. That is his jaza. Okay. Kadhalika najzi dhalimin. And that is how we punish the wrongdoers in our, that's our law. We punish them. That person who stole was given as a slave, becomes owned by the person you stole from. So now that ruling has been established. Okay. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did something like that also. We'll talk about it if we have time afterwards. So their law opposed the Egyptian law in this way, and Yusuf alayhi salam did not want Binyamin to be beaten up. He just wanted to protect him and take him as a court slave, so now that he would have a valid reason for keeping him with him instead of returning them with the brothers. So now فَبَدَأَ بِأَوْعَتِهِمْ قَبْلَ وِعَاءِ أَخِي. So now they come, and Yusuf alayhi salam starts, okay, open. Now he starts checking from the baggage, the saddle bags of the other brothers. Now he already knows where it is, but just to show that, you can't just directly go, I want to check this. So he goes through one and goes through two and then goes through that. Qabla wi'a'i akhi, before he got to his brother. He's called his brother, akhi. ثُمَّ اسْتَخْرَجَهَا مِنْ وِعَاءِ akhi. And then he goes to his brother, and there it is. He takes it out. أَخْرَجَهَا مِنْ وِعَاءِ akhi. Decision, verdict was already given by them that he becomes their slave. Now, Binyamin alayhi salam is this introverted, quiet because of all he's gone through. He's just sitting there. He's not saying, he probably is on this plot that this is what's going to happen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kidna li Yusuf ma kana li ya'khudha akhahu fi deen al-maliki illa an yasha Allah. Narfa'u darajatin min man nasha'u wa fawqa kulli dhi ilmin alim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is how we inspired Yusuf to plan. To plan, that plan of this whole thing. Okay? Kidna. We planned for Yusuf this. Why? Because he could not have taken his brother as a captive under the king's law. Now, how did he inspire him? Did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveal to Yusuf alayhi salam direct detail, do this, or just sent the ideas, inspiration sometimes, people get, to do certain things, and he planned, he thinks he's planning, but Allah has put those ideas in him that this would be the way to do it. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here has cleared Yusuf alayhi salam of any accusations of wrongdoing, right? Allah says, we inspired him to do this, and he would not have been. So the scholars have said, when some good is intended, because there was good intended, he wasn't doing anything bad. And even then, he did not accuse his brother of stealing. He just said, you are thieves. And in a way, he was right, the announcer. And Yusuf alayhi salam never said that. The announcers said that you are thieves. Why? Because you had stolen Yusuf alayhi salam from his father before. So in a way, you were. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and then not only that we shouldn't think negatively for this planning, he says, Illa an yasha, except what Allah wants, narfa'u darajatim min man nasha. That Allah elevates who He wants. So He's telling him that we elevated Yusuf. Okay? وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. And above everyone of knowledge, there's someone with greater knowledge. Till you get to Al-Alim, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that these people were smart, and they were smart, and there was somebody smarter. Yusuf planned this way, and this is how it ultimately happened. So now this is what's happened. So obviously, Yusuf alayhi salam did not disclose to them that the Egyptian law is different. He had already asked them what the punishment should. So, okay, this is what it is. Now I'm going to take him as my slave, this man. Now they are in a real quandary because they had given an oath to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring him back. Right? But what is the first response of these brothers when this happened? Now, if something is found in your brother's bag, what would you first do? Ask your brother, you did this? Even first, how did it get here? Or you did this? قالوا إن يسرق فقد سرق أخ له. Their first thing was, if he has stolen this, it doesn't come as a surprise to us because before his brother also stole. That saying this to Yusuf alayhi salam, who's standing there in authority, oh, his brother was also a thief, as if that is evidence, because is being thief genetic? Okay, or if one person stole, how does that relate to, oh, his brother stole, so that's not such a big surprise. There was no need to say that. He said, this kid has stolen from what they see. But why bring? Now imagine what emotions Yusuf alayhi salam is going through. He never stole anything in his life, but there is a story behind why they brought this up. But there was no need for it. But look at the patience of Yusuf alayhi salam. And the anger and rage he must have felt at these people, that after all of this, they are still like this. But he calmed himself, didn't show it at all. فَأَسَرَّهَا, and he hid that, what he was feeling. فَأَسَرَّهَا Yusuf فِي نَفْسِهِ, within himself. He didn't let it show. Face didn't turn red, eyes didn't get like this, and he didn't, do this or anything that he kept. وَلَمْ يُبْدِهَا لَهُمْ قَالَ أَنْتُمْ شَرٌّ مَكَانًا وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا تَصِفُونَ. And he said within himself, to himself, he's having this, he didn't say it out loud. He said, you are in such a bad, evil position, and Allah knows best the truth about what you allege that I stole. So this is where the scene ends for now. Okay. Now, why did they bring us this issue of, there are different stories. We don't know the authenticity of it. Many years ago, I had read in Tabari's Tafsir that Yusuf alayhi salam as a child, and I'll verify it again because it's been many, many years. I didn't get a chance to verify it again and refresh my memory. But what I remember is his paternal aunt of Yusuf alayhi salam, Yaqub alayhi salam's sister, when he was very young child, 3 or 4 years, he was very, very beautiful. She wanted to keep him. She used to sort of babysit him a lot. Then when the mother and the father wanted him, she didn't want to give it back to Yaqub alayhi salam. So what she did was, she had some precious belt. She tied it under his clothes and then returned him to Yaqub alayhi salam. And then after a while it said, my thing is missing. And then they found it on Yusuf alayhi salam. She said, oh, I am going to take him. And accused him, this poor boy, accused him of theft. There's another story, and this I have not read myself, but so don't take it as the truth. But one story is that their mother, Yusuf alayhi salam's and Binyamin alayhi salam's, was the youngest wife of Yaqub alayhi salam, and she was very beautiful, and she apparently died with the childbirth of Binyamin, and that's why he was very close to the father. And her father was an idol worshipper who used to have idols. So one story is that one time the mother sent her son, go steal those idols and will throw them away so that my father learns that they don't have any power and maybe comes to Islam. I have heard this, I have not read it myself, but I'm putting it out there. You can verify. And whatever it is, something had happened in his past where obviously a false accusation had been made on a little kid that he stole. And now these people bring that up because this was found. Okay. Now, interestingly, it doesn't say that this young kid, it said the cup was found in his baggage. Okay, was found in his baggage. So now this is where the situation ends, and now we will continue because it's been an hour after that. So as far as Yusuf alayhi salam's making this plan or plot to keep him, number one, his intention was to protect his brother from ill treatment from the other brothers, even possibly his life, whatever he was being treated. So the intention was good. Number two, he had limited resources to keep him legally. He couldn't keep him illegally because he's sort of managing the whole country. If they start, and their reputation was important, if they start, it's not like today that, all the corruption goes from the top down. He had to set an example. So the only way he could keep him is legally. And also he couldn't keep it legally by the Egyptian law. So he applied the law, and he knew the law that existed over there. This is similar to when the Banu Qurayza, one of the Jewish tribes in Medina, betrayed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, broke their treaty, and they joined the other forces when they attacked. And after that, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam called them, for their punishment for that betrayal, they were really scared. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not give a verdict. The verdict would be what it should be. So he said, "Who do you want as the judge over you?" So they said Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, which was one of the leaders of the Aus or Hazratji, I forget which one of the two, because he was an ally of the Banu Qurayza. So Rasulullah said, he will be the judge. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew that he knew what the law was, and he would apply it fairly. But he stayed out of it. He didn't give the verdict. So they said, this is what we have done. And Sa'd ibn Mu'adh gave the commandment that the punishment for this, according to your scriptures, will be applied, which is behead all the men, and the women go as. And that's what happened, which is what they still complain about today. But that was given by their chosen judge, and that was according to their scriptures. Okay, so this is what was done here, according to what the punishment of those people. So now Yusuf alayhi salam, the bottom line is, now he has his brother with him, and these people will now argue why they should go with him, and then the story will go on. I'm hoping in the next 2 sessions we will finish it, but those 2 sessions are going to be in December sometime, inshallah. Any questions or comments on this? سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت